The ancient Greeks. We admire them. They gave us democracy. They explored philosophy. Their contributions to the world are immense and undeniable. From the birth of democratic principles to the profound depths of philosophical inquiry, their influence is woven into the very fabric of modern society. Their art and architecture still inspire us. The Parthenon stands as a testament to their architectural genius, while their pottery tells stories of daily life and myth. The columns they designed have become a symbol of strength and beauty, replicated in countless structures around the world. But we must also confront a darker side. Beneath the surface of their achievements lies a history marked by contradictions and complexities. The same society that championed democracy also practiced slavery and held deep-seated prejudices. The Greeks held prejudices against those different from themselves. Their society was stratified, with clear distinctions between citizens, non-citizens, and slaves. These social hierarchies were deeply ingrained and accepted as the norm. Can we reconcile these seemingly opposing truths? How do we balance the admiration for their contributions with the acknowledgement of their flaws? This duality is at the heart of understanding their legacy. Were the ancient Greeks racist? This question is complex and requires a nuanced exploration. While their concept of race differed from modern understandings, they did exhibit ethnocentric attitudes and practices. To answer this, we must delve into their world. We must immerse ourselves in their writings, their debates, and their daily lives. Only then can we begin to understand the full scope of their beliefs and actions. We must examine their beliefs and practices. From the plays performed in their amphitheaters to the philosophical discourses in their academies, every aspect of their culture offers insights into their worldview. We must consider the historical context. The ancient Greeks lived in a world vastly different from our own, and their actions and beliefs were shaped by the realities of their time. Understanding this context is crucial to forming a fair assessment. This journey will not be comfortable. It will force us to confront uncomfortable truths and challenge our perceptions of a civilization we have long admired. It will challenge our perceptions. We will have to grapple with the reality that the Greeks, like all societies, were a product of their time, with both admirable qualities and significant flaws. We will grapple with uncomfortable truths. The existence of slavery, the treatment of women, and the exclusion of non-citizens are all aspects of Greek society that we must confront and understand. By exploring their flaws, we gain a deeper understanding of the Greeks. We see them not as idealized figures, but as real people with strengths and weaknesses, capable of both greatness and prejudice. We can learn from their mistakes. By studying their history, we can gain insights into our own society and strive to avoid repeating their errors. We can appreciate the complexities of their legacy. The ancient Greeks were a people of contradictions, and it is through understanding these contradictions that we can truly appreciate the depth and richness of their contribution to human history.
Imagine the world of the ancient Greeks, a civilization rich in history, art, and philosophy. Picture the bustling marketplaces, the grand temples, and the lively debates in the agora. The ancient Greeks laid the foundation for much of Western culture. They were not a single, unified nation. Instead, they were a mosaic of city-states, each with its own government, customs, and way of life. From Athens to Sparta, each city-state had its own identity and pride. These city-states were scattered across the Greek mainland, the islands of the Aegean Sea, and even along the coastlines of Asia Minor. Each city-state, or polis, was a world unto itself, fiercely independent yet sharing a common language and religion. These city-states were spread across the Mediterranean. The sea was their lifeline, connecting them through trade and cultural exchange. Ships laden with goods, ideas, and stories sailed from one port to another, weaving a rich tapestry of interconnectedness. They were connected by trade and culture. Markets were filled with goods from distant lands, and ideas flowed as freely as the wine at their symposia. This exchange of goods and thoughts helped to shape the Greek world. But they were also frequent rivals. This competition fueled innovation. The desire to outdo one another led to advancements in art, science, and philosophy. The Olympic Games, for instance, were born out of this spirit of competition. It also led to conflict and prejudice. Wars between city-states were common, and alliances were often fragile. The Peloponnesian War, a devastating conflict between Athens and Sparta, is a testament to the fierce rivalries that existed. Their geography shaped their worldview. The rugged mountains and the vast sea created natural barriers, fostering a sense of independence and self-reliance. Yet these same features also encouraged exploration and interaction with other cultures. The Greeks saw themselves surrounded by others, Persians to the east, Egyptians to the south. These neighboring civilizations were both a source of inspiration and a cause for concern. They called these people barbarians. To the Greeks, anyone who did not speak their language or share their customs was considered a barbarian. This term was not initially derogatory, but simply a way to distinguish between Greek and non-Greek. This term did not initially carry the negative connotation it does today. It was a practical way to categorize the world around them. However, over time, it began to reflect a sense of cultural superiority. It simply meant non-Greek speaking. Yet, this linguistic distinction often translated into a broader sense of cultural separation. The Greeks prided themselves on their language, their art, and their way of life. However, it reflected a sense of separation. The Greeks saw themselves as the bearers of a unique and superior culture. This belief influenced their interactions with other civilizations, sometimes leading to conflict, but also to a rich exchange of ideas. The Greeks saw their culture as superior. They believed in the power of reason, the beauty of their art, and the strength of their political systems. This sense of cultural pride drove them to achieve great things, leaving a lasting legacy that continues to influence the world today.
To understand Greek views, we turn to their own words. Herodotus, the father of history, wrote extensively about other cultures. He admired the Egyptians. He recognized their advancements in mathematics and astronomy. Yet he also highlighted their differences. He emphasized their customs and beliefs. These were often portrayed as strange or exotic. Aristotle, the philosopher, developed a theory of natural slavery. He argued that some people were naturally suited to be ruled. This belief justified the enslavement of conquered peoples. It provided a philosophical basis for prejudice and discrimination.
Section 4. Cultural superiority or racism, a crucial distinction. We must be careful not to impose modern concepts onto the past. When we look back at ancient civilizations, it's essential to understand their context and the framework within which they operated. The ancient Greeks did not have the same understanding of race as we do today. Their worldview was shaped by different factors, including geography, politics, and culture. Their prejudices were rooted in culture and ethnicity, not biology. They saw themselves as distinct from other groups, but this distinction was based on cultural practices, language, and customs rather than physical characteristics. They believed in the superiority of Greek culture. This belief was evident in their literature, art, and philosophy, where Greek ways of life were often depicted as the pinnacle of human achievement. But they did not have a concept of racial hierarchy based on skin color. Their sense of identity was more about cultural affiliation and less about physical appearance. However, this does not excuse their prejudices. The Greeks often viewed non-Greek cultures as barbaric and inferior, leading to a sense of cultural elitism. Their sense of superiority fueled discrimination. This cultural elitism manifested in various ways, from exclusionary practices to outright hostility towards those they deemed other. It justified exploitation and violence. The Greeks often used their perceived cultural superiority to rationalize conquests and the subjugation of other peoples. We must acknowledge the harm caused by their beliefs. While their prejudices were different from modern racism, they still led to significant suffering and injustice. Even if their views were different from modern racism, they were still harmful. Understanding this helps us see the complexities of human history and the ways in which cultural superiority can lead to discrimination and violence. By studying these ancient prejudices, we can learn valuable lessons about the dangers of cultural elitism. It reminds us to be vigilant against similar attitudes in our own time. The ancient Greeks, with all their contributions to philosophy, art, and science, were not immune to the flaws of human nature. Their belief in cultural superiority serves as a cautionary tale. As we reflect on their legacy, we must strive to build a world that values diversity and inclusivity, learning from the past to create a better.
Section 5. Slavery and social hierarchy, a stain on Greek society. Slavery was a pervasive institution in ancient Greece. It was central to their economy and society. Slaves were not seen as fully human. They were considered property. They had no rights and were subject to the whims of their owners. However, Greek society was not entirely rigid. There were cases of social mobility. Foreigners could gain citizenship in some city-states. Slaves could sometimes earn their freedom. These examples show that Greek society was complex. It was not simply a binary of free and enslaved. Section 6. Echoes of the Past. The Greek Legacy and Modern Interpretations. The legacy of the ancient Greeks is complex and multifaceted. We celebrate their contributions to democracy, philosophy, and art. But we must also confront their prejudices and injustices. Their example reminds us that even the most enlightened societies can harbor dark undercurrents. In modern times, there have been attempts to appropriate Greek culture for nationalist or racist agendas. These interpretations distort the past. They ignore the diversity of the ancient world. We must resist such simplistic and harmful readings of history. Section 7. Conclusion: a nuanced understanding. Were the ancient Greeks racist? The answer is not simple. They did not have the same concept of race as we do today, but they did hold prejudices based on culture and ethnicity. They believed in the superiority of Greek civilization. This belief led to discrimination and exploitation. We must approach history with nuance and critical thinking. We must acknowledge both the achievements and the failings of the past. By understanding the complexities of history, we can learn from it and build a better future.